I'm starting to get sick from how much you jump, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sorry. I'll
It's okay. I'm just letting you know. It's just like non-stop. You just feel like you have to be like hopping everywhere.
Now entering ready for battle.
So you are LO2. Some Zarya on King's Row.
Yep.
Alright, so the thing that I like to do at the very start of every single game on Zarya is kind of look over who we're dealing with. So then we can already have a target priority for our bubbles before the game even like starts. So right now we can bubble Ryan obviously for free energy, like off cooldown for the most part. If Mercy goes for a res, we'll need to bubble her if she's in a dangerous position. On top of that, she is more diveable than our Moira. So if we were to have to bubble backline, or if they were to like go for a dive, it would be onto our Mercy in this comp, not our Moira. And Echo and Mei aren't as diveable as Mercy. So that's just kind of where our target priority comes into. If our Mei starts hard frontlining as well, we can also bubble that Mei that starts frontlining in front of our Reinhardt. And on top of that, if our Echo were to copy, let's say, Pharah or Genji, and then they're going to go for an ult, we can try to bubble that. First point here on King's Row, if we get high energy, this hotel will be your best friend for setting up flanks onto the squishier targets in their backline. So if you ever find yourself in a situation that you might be down, like you're missing your main tank, then you're like, do I just path out or do I go for more of a carry play? This carry play will be your best friend every single time. A lot of fights can be just turned from you rotating through there. Am I going kind of quick?
No, I'm just sitting over here nodding with my background noise, so I was keeping my microphone muted.
Okay. I'm just trying to cover whatever we can and kind of compress it as much as possible.
2, 1.
Yeah, that's fine.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
So when we go for initial fire strikes, for example, here, just always be ready for that. So against ball comps too, like, you know how we talked about bubbling initial fire strikes? We can also bubble that initial slam by ball if we realize they're playing a ball comp and just, you know, bubble the squishy that we think they're trying to potentially kill. Most of the time when they're doing that before their team engages, that's just for ult charge, and we're just denying him some of that ult charge towards mines. I do like that you so far use your bubble very, very early on to get energy. Their goal is kind of be very, very quick about our bubble usage so then we can get that energy, so then we can make smarter decisions while having higher energy in the mid fight. Right now, the biggest thing that I'm kind of noticing is how far forward you get compared to your Reinhardt, even once you pop your bubble, and how you don't rotate back immediately, which might be a little bit more punishable later in the VOD. So that's something that I want you to kind of, we'll be keeping our eye on throughout this VOD. And we could be peeling the dive a little bit more like the ball if we were further back as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so typically once the blade goes through, they're not going to go for your Reinhardt initially. So then you wouldn't want to bubble Rein there. You turn to wherever you think he's going to dash. So wherever you think your supports currently are. If you're playing back here, like pathing like this, your more is most likely going to be in here, for example. If we were pathing more so, because usually when the fight breaks out like this, we're pathing more like this and out or into a hotel. And we don't want to strand ourselves over to the left side. And it makes it a little bit easier to survive with our energy as well. Let's just bubble free spam, like the idea. So how much do you come in game, out of curiosity?
It depends. If I play solo queue, usually if the team comes, quite a bit. If the team's silent, I'm usually just turn on my music and also play silent. If I stack with someone, I'm pretty talkative.
Out of curiosity, are you playing EU ladder or NA East?
EU. This is
EU?
EU.
Okay. Just double checking. Because I know they're a little bit different. So in general, even if your team is quiet, I'd like you to possibly get in the habit of whenever you have like projected bubble and like you just use yours for energy and you're really looking for that energy. If you think more spam's coming in, like right now, for example, kind of being like, hey, Ryan, can you peek for energy? And just kind of like the very, very bare minimum calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now I hear like ball backline, like he's behind you, and like your goal is to kind of like pressure him and chase him out. Then once he's out of your beam range when you're in that backline initially, then you just rotate away and you don't chase. unless you're like 100% sure you'll catch him on that chase and instantly finish him type of deal. Otherwise, he's pulling you so far out of the fight and he's getting a lot of value there. But right now, we don't even have that initial pressure, which may allow him to strive a little bit.
Yeah, I was trying to not pay too much attention to the ball because he was not really doing anything, like just basically just rolling through it. But yeah, I can try and
Okay,
put
well,
a little bit more pressure.
Well, you can definitely keep looking at it and kind of gauge where it ends up punishing you then. Because against a good ball player, with how far forward you play in front of your Reinhardt a lot of the time without bubble, that's where he'd be doing a roll through and booping you even further forward without no bubble. And now your Ryan isn't getting booped as far forward as you. Then that's where you become punishable because you're just way overextended instead of slightly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Big thing that it seems like we're not really aware of at times is when the Genji wastes his dash on the other team. When we know he has no dash, for example, he's severely punishable. And once we hear that audio cue, unless we know he's just secured a kill with that dash, then he has reset, obviously, so then he can still dash out. We really want to start tunneling him quicker once we know he doesn't have that cooldown, because that's his escape cooldown, survival cooldown.
Yeah.
Is like what we like to call it.
That's something that I probably am honestly just not paying attention to at all. So that's something that I just think, now that you said it out loud to me, it'll probably be something that will click in my next game and be like, oh hey, I should try and pay attention to people that can't escape and try and pressure them down.
Yeah, because so far it looks like you understand like beaming shields, like it's better shield break, just beaming and then finishing your clip with a right click once you get to very low ammo, for example. You understand like probably right clicking melee into grab if you can with your bubble up, stuff like that. Your high energy, all these like things about Zarya. You understand that your grab probably travels at the same, trajectory of a right click, so then you can already see how it's going to land, but you shouldn't really be throwing far grabs usually anyway. A golden rule we kind of get, like we haven't used grab yet, but a golden rule when we kind of get into grab. Wait, I think we actually used one.
I think I used one.
Yeah, we used one
a while ago.
Yeah, back here. But a golden rule when it comes to grab is sort of that we can follow up on our own grab unless we have a combo and we know someone else can follow up with like that grab dragon, for example, and they don't have a perfectly timed beat to survive it, for example. You don't need the highest energy to secure those kills most of the time. But if it were for yourself, I want you to have bubble up. I want you to be high energy. I want you to be able to hard commit to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Nice pathing though. I like that you're hugging the corners very tight like that to break LOS quicker. So this is being a little bit greedy if you ask me for our Reinhardt just dying recently. We want him back up a lot and give a lot more space while we're waiting on our main tank a lot of the time. Especially when we don't have bubble up. This is still technically chaseable and punishable. But
yeah, I think that's one of my bigger Zarya weaknesses, is that I used to be a Ryan main, so I'm used to being on the front line and being quite aggressive. So when I'm playing Zarya, I'll usually also play quite dummy aggressive, which might not always be the greatest to do. But
yeah, a lot of it is, if you can get easily pocketed, nanoed, and like all these resources dumped into you, sure, you can still be kind of dummy aggressive and try and make maybe like a flank play. I wouldn't really technically take like a hard frontline fight without my main tank on Zarya unless the shield's almost broken and we know we can kill their main tank after we break shield. So you play a very, very passive style that you beam shield from like max distance type of deal, playing close to a corner so you can break LOS, and then once they're starting to get close, you're pathing to the next corner with your bubble at that point. Stuff like that. It really depends on what they have in their front line at the time for you to make these decisions, but typically the best thing is to make sure you live with your energy. So if you feel like you have to take it slow, take it as slow as you need to. So the thing when it comes to Nano Blade, if we do have grab up and we want to use it defensively, since we are playing, for example, a Mercy Ana comp, that we're probably not going to hit the sleep, so it's like we try to Ryan Shatter or we try to grab it a lot of the time. Otherwise on defense, it's just like you got a free team fight pretty much. So we always try to think about where our supports are. So if we were here, for example, our supports, I'd say typically are around like 5 to 10 meters behind you as a tank. That's just like a general thing. Like if we're here, they're either going to be here or they're going to be here. Does that kind of make sense? Or they're going to be like here.
Yeah.
More towards this corner, peeking like this as Ana. This is like typical Ana positioning for here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just trying to give you like a rough, because when we are bubbling Genji Blade, for example, we wait until he commits the dash. We don't try to just hard predict him before he dashes. We do it as we hear the dash and see the dash.
Yeah, so that he dashes into the bubble and doesn't get the kill, right?
Yeah, so we try to bubble whatever he hit, like initially dashes on everything, obviously. So then it eats a dash and the first slash. But on top of that, we're doing it so if we were to preemptively grab, sometimes Genjis are waiting for that. And they pull their blade and they don't immediately dash because they assume the Zarya has grabbed, they know it. So they're trying to bait it and then they instantly shoot where their on is. Typically that's like the go-to, and some Genjis know that and they instantly go for your Reinhardt instead, for example. So
yeah,
that's something that's just kind of like watch out for as you climb. So it's just kind of giving you a heads up of how we kind of can do it more effectively even starting now. The biggest thing I feel like I'm seeing at this point is just target priority. You swap from one target to another a lot, like they're barraging, they're standing still. Who would you want to shoot now? Like you had a nano target that got somewhat weak. There's someone standing still barraging. There's a Roadhog. Your highest skill potential would probably be on either of the squishies, not the Roadhog at this point.
Yeah.
So then it's like we go from one target to the other. The Genji's still on you. His nano's ended and now you're focusing a Hog. We should be back on that Genji once he committed to us. Commit to whatever you can, because this Hog's walking away and breaking LOS. Can you stay over here and just take this duel most likely? 100%. Especially with their Mercy here. I'm sure you'd be okay. You see like, okay, on him, look away again. Back to Ana, now we're back to Hog. We're not really just hard committing to a target. If we're really like focusing on that kill feed too from that fight, a lot of people just died a bit ago, right? From that nano blade, the barrage and everything. We're using our grab in a 3v5, for example. 3v5, you're not really going to get 2 kills with a grab with the amount of damage usually in this situation, unless you are grabbing the squishies and they have nothing kind of protecting them. So it's not really like worth right now. It's better to play this a lot slower, wait for your Reinhardt to get back, and then once your Reinhardt's back, you could go for that grab. Makes it a lot safer for you, so that seemed like a little bit of a rush ultimate. So we had bubble up right as they got hooked actually here, for example, and it's like really reacting that audio cue of Roadhog securing hook. His bubble's up at this point. If you preemptively already looked at them, assuming you're about to have bubble and maybe you can get it off in time, you could have saved your Mercy here, for example. So Hog has a different audio cue for when he misses hook, and then it adds the extra audio cue when he hits hook, basically. So once you hear that, you try to flick towards it, hit that E button or whatever you have it bound to really quick for projected bubble. Boom, we save our Mercy. Big thing that I'm kind of noticing is how extended you try to beam like that Orisa, because you could be beaming that Orisa from here and you could be a lot more passive with your bubble usage then, and you're really trying to hard force a push. And for all you know, sometimes you might be trying to hard force a push when your Reinhardt doesn't have a lot of shield. And I'm sure when you play Reinhardt, you have those situations that like now in this mid fight, you have 400 shield and you're like, I don't want to push right now, right? And then you're like, okay, oh, my Zarya's pushing, I need to try to shield them though. Don't want to make people try to overcommit if you didn't have to anyway. Because you're trying to force a hard like chase when you could be initially like just beaming from here safe. Oh, now we broke shield. Now they're backing up. Now I need to chase. You're trying to chase before they're actually giving up space.
Yeah, I think the thing is that, as again from like my Rhyme background, is probably me just defaulting to trying to be as close as possible to them. And not having it really had clicked yet. That with Zarya, that's not really.
I'm telling you right now, if they play like a Orisa into you as Zarya, and they don't have like a second shield, for example, like their Orisa Hog here. If you just sit there and play shield break the entire game and you bubble hooks, you're gonna win this game like 9 out of 10 times just based off that. If you are just max range beaming that shield, that's all you have to do. It's very easy. And then you just farm the Orisa, force fortify, beam out the Hog, hit right clicks if you see people grouped, or and finish your clips with right clicks. To get out beam range, swap into right click, obviously. I think you understand those things.
Yeah.
So you're in gold currently?
I am currently, I think like 2350 or 2360 on this account. So yeah, somewhere in gold.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. The Zarya doesn't really look like gold gameplay to me. It looks like higher plat. I'm being honest. So I think we have a lot of potential here, and like maybe some other VODs there might be more of an underlying issues. So far, the biggest thing I'm kind of
also said like because of that vault where I lost, because I usually think like if it's a vault where you win, it's gonna have less flaws than a vault where you get don't win.
It's my typical rotation for ultimates. Let's say people build their ult in roughly around 2 minutes. If they're playing well, a little bit quicker. So it's at the 240 mark. So by the time he pops his next blade, we're at a minute. So it's been a minute and 40 seconds. I feel like that would be like, if we haven't seen Nano Blade in a while, they probably have it again. So then you want to play this next fight more defensively with your bubble. So then you can bubble whoever he initially dashes to make it longer until he gets his next dash reset, so it's easier for people to focus him. I always recommend people to never pass out left side coming back, for example, on Zarya and most heroes, because right side, for example, has all this cover and the mini is in a sheltered area instead of out in the open. This does give you LOS quicker of things, so you can right click and find that right click value, maybe find spam to walk into earlier on and build that energy. Trouble with the dash, I like it. Win on our Reinhardt. Very good. Okay, no bubble, start backing. Okay, bubble Reinhardt, let's look for some more energy as he pushes there. The tracking was a little bit better there, we would have secured that kill on Genji. So if we were to ever push here, for example, we have to be aware that Hog wants to come here a lot of the time on this map and try to off angle hook you off. And they also have a Orisa who might try to pull you off. So if you were to have to ever push this comp, I don't want to see rotate on left side. The payload was here. I want to see you use this right side, so then you can break hook like this, and then you're also not rotating where you can get pulled by Orisa.
Give me your best shot. Don't hold.
So in general, we kind of talked about this earlier, that you sometimes like when ball is in ball form, you pop your bubble. That Hog wasn't looking at you yet, and you preemptively pop your bubble. As soon as you see him turn, then you're reacting with your bubble. You react popping it just too preemptively.
Yep.
Barriers on you. Go. Go. I'll keep you here.
Alright, so let's get some shield break here. Maybe force out fortify. And then we'll still look for grab after forcing out fortify. That's like a big thing to kind of do. Let's play very, very aggressive. Force that cooldown early. So you're not trying to break the initial shield. You're not trying to force fortify. You're actually just hard pushing past shield. And your supports aren't going to expect that. Like, you're probably not saying anything. They're going to probably just chill here, and then they can't heal you through the shield, then you're just overextending. You're trying to force grab early in the fight, and we kind of use it a little bit into the fight. Like, slightly like towards the mid fight a lot of the time. It's not like you hard engage with grab most of the time. You are forcing cooldowns before you go in with it. You're going to get staggered here. So you have one more fight at this point. You're not close to grab. A lot of people would say you have to use your bubbles too aggressively going into this last fight to build energy, and then you're very punishable. So they'd recommend just swap into a different character for this last fight, preferably a faster character.
Ball at this point.
Okay. I'd say if we were ult tracking and we knew they had barrage, like we haven't seen barrage in a while, we'd go Diva to try to hard shut down that barrage and get a free kill on her early in the fight. Then. So there is a rollout to you immediately use the grapple and get out quick, but if you were like, oh, my team is already on it, I just want to grapple card and swing around, that's okay as well.
Alright, this is gonna be a lot of just me swinging around.
Yeah. I mean, this is what you do while you're waiting for people to get back. But then once people are back, you're looking for kills. You don't only want to care about stalling. So at that point, once your team is back, should you go back to just swinging, or should you be grappling high, like top right, trying to pile drive Ana or Mercy and try to secure a kill? Stuff like that.
Probably should be doing the latter, but I can assure you I was doing the former.
Okay, like here, so you just booped them off point, right? If you realize, oh, I just booped them off point, could you have let go and then boop them again over here? And then you'd push them away from card and maybe they C9. Just something to kind of think about.
Yeah.
It's just minefielded, and with how ball interacts with minefield these days, your boop doesn't break the minefields before it hurts you and everything. So it's something that you would like cancel at that point so you didn't repeat them initially. Okay, are we gonna at least drop our mines? So if you wanted to drop your mines there, do you think you could have at least gotten out of your ball form for a second, jumped on top of cart,
Complete.
dropped them, and then pile drived into them?
No, not probably, for sure, yeah.
That'd be covering cart a little bit more too. You're popping it very much on the backside of cart, and when they're winning in the fight like that, they're probably going to be more so on the middle and on your side of cart because they're trying to clean up kills on your side. Something to kind of think about.
It's just going to hurt. I claim this objective.
So do you always jump like this out of curiosity?
Probably, yeah. I'm a Minecraft player. I just have my thumb on spacebar like 90% of the time.
Okay, well, a lot of these like situations that you just kind of spam jumping, like when you're dueling someone, for example, it should be, you know, being substituted with crouch spamming for the most part, just to kind of give you a heads up that you should be like jumping against the Ashe that's the mercy pocket this entire time. This would be like a death sentence in a higher elo, especially without bubble up initially. So just something that you want to try to mitigate as much as possible before it becomes a super bad habit.
Get in there.
You end up being okay. They split you with minefield. So here's the thing, they split you with minefield, then you're hard pushing when they split your team with minefield, and then you're also grabbing. When you have no bubble now, you're split because of minefield, and they have a healthy shield. A big thing in this Rein matchup, when you are grabbing the Reinhardt, is you want to at least crack his shield before you grab him with your entire team there, though. Otherwise, you want it even more cracked than half, so then you can finish off the shield and finish the people behind it. Unless you are, obviously, you have your bubble up and you're confident that you can kind of just walk into it and right-click melee. And kind of take that approach. But here, we obviously can't do that. This is a very overextended, bad time to grab. A bubble here. Yep. Okay, bubbles about. Big thing that I would say too is once your bubble, you pop your bubble. Usually you pop your bubble and then you're immediately starting to back up. You stay very complacent with your bubble and same where you pop it for a while, and you even after it even goes down, you can't stay there for a bit. You need to be a little bit faster with backing up after popping it. I'm starting to get sick from how much you jump, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm just letting you know. It's just like non-stop. You just feel like you have to be like hopping everywhere, and it's just kind of.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's the Minecraft playing that's, you know, it's so baked in because in Minecraft it makes you faster. So I just, you know.
Hey, if Dante can not hop all the time, I expect you to be able to not hop all the time. Okay, Blade's going off. Look at Blade. Nice. Like, that's really good right there. Like, I wouldn't expect that from a gold player. Like, swapping from your beam into a right click melee like that. Wait, you can't lose this. You, capped. They don't have time.
Yeah.
I thought you said it was a loss early on.
No, that's the. I sent another VOD.
Gotcha.
This one was a win.
Okay. Seems like you're aware of off angling, but you go for this off angle once you get more energy. So we need to kind of sit main and look for that energy first here. I think you realize that. So if you bubble around here, you'll have your energy, and then you'd go for the flank at that point. After you bubbled around, you'd rotate in. You wouldn't actually follow your Reinhardt onto the point with no bubble. Into a comp like this, you just like understand that we're already down one, bubble that Rein for energy. You're just gonna sit back here, right clicking, or you're gonna rotate in here and try to make that beam into right click, play onto someone, and try to hard burst them like that. Such a weird fight.
Yeah, it was a bit. Not a bit. It was really chaotic.
Surprised you popped your bubble so early there when you hear Tyre coming in. Didn't really wait more for Tyre.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to respond way better to flankers and people popping their ults. And like grab timings and understand when people are like further back and like if they have cooldowns and stuff like that, like waiting to bait cooldowns and break shield a little bit more and understand our team is split by like minefield. A lot of these are like important concepts to kind of grab from that game.
Ready for battle. Just a scratch.
All right, I missed the very beginning, so see the bubble usage, which way we come out, coming out right.
I am
It's
moving.
better for Zarya, so I like it.
Ready for battle.
Good bubble,
Barriers on you.
good bubbles. So if we want to talk about bubble usage again and going into this comp, bubble and Reaper for ult, bubble and Genji for Blade, bubble and Reinhardt, bubble and Reaper when he's hard frontlining, or if we see him in like a sticky situation. And those are the main ones.
I am moving the payload.
I actually want to rewatch this fight. So we get good energy.
I think the issue we run in with this fight is that me and the Ryan and the Reaper pushed like way too deep in their backline. I'm probably pushed like past 1 or 2 people.
Most people would say you come here, you use your bubbles, you take this corner. Now you play slow in this area in general, like here or here. And now you play slow here, use your bubble on your Reinhardt, get energy, and then you can either push with him with your bubble or you can off angle and flank here. So it's like, yeah, I think overall all 3 of you just pushed a little bit too deep early on. So we're kind of out position for our backline as well, and they kind of end up getting rolled. I think you get very, very tunneled on farming tanks, by the way, when your teammates are like, you can kill a squishy and you have that kill potential. You always like focus on just the easier to hit target, and sometimes you need to be trying to like track that Genji that has no dash that's kind of frontline right now, or the soldier that your entire team's speeding onto. Just helps secure that kill quicker. So you're trying to just get damage on your own a lot of the time. Not really. Playing off others.
Barriers on you.
So out of curiosity, do you feel like there's certain comps that you struggle against, like like you struggle against like Ball Hog, for example? You're better when it's like Ryan Zarya v Ryan Zarya. Like, do you notice any matchups like that?
I think I'm definitely better when it's like versus a Ryan Zarya comp, and I'm struggling more when it's like more of a non-brawly comp, if that makes sense. I think I do best in just brawl.
Okay, so if we want to just quickly cover that, the reason I ask is because typically against a Ball Hog comp, their strong suit is trying to split people and take 1v1s, okay, and bait you into taking that 1v1. You have a mindset that you very likely try to force 1v1s all the time and don't actually rotate with your team onto people, like following your Ryan the entire time, and you very much probably go off and try to like 1v1 that Hog, heal kite to a health pack, self heal, solo whole Hog use, stuff like that. And this comp is all about not getting split and hard pushing together. And we need to be focusing that same target and not splitting onto a different target the entire time. Same, and then with dive, we talked about how you don't really try to peel dive too much, watching your King's Row game that you still won. But if you were against like dive, it's about playing further back. So when that dive comes in, you can easily bubble whoever they end up diving. And then you can walk into that dive yourself and use your own personal bubble and get your high energy that way. It's not all about bubbling that main tank all the time. If you see an easy opportunity that you can eat spam still against a dive comp onto your main tank, for example, or they're very much like poking at him, like just like brawling on top of him, feel free to still bubble your main tank. But there are situations that you definitely need to be starting the fight further back.
I think my default mode is very much just W into them.
Yeah, I'll say like sometimes your bubble uses like here, you start your bubble like actually behind Ryan's shield and you're not waiting until you actually pass it to pop your bubble. So we can be a little bit, you know, more aware of that. So wait a little bit more on that bubble usage sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot of time people think of like, oh, I'm just in front of shield, I need to pop bubble. It's actually, you try to go as far as you can without getting punished and take as much space, then you're using your bubble to retreat that you know you can retreat comfortably with that bubble. So like, or if you're just doing it for energy, yeah, you're barely going in front of shield. As soon as you get past that shield, then you're popping it, then you start to back up as you pop it. And that's how you eat the spam.
Get into position.
And so you know how we keep talking about you don't have bubble and you get very, very in front of your Reinhardt still? Like, as soon as you pop bubble right here, this is hard retreat, hard retreat, hard retreat. You got behind Ryan shield, you need to keep backing with that Ryan. Okay, we're behind Ryan shield. He's gonna keep pathing out, right? We don't need to keep all the space right now. This is the corner that we're going to be holding for now. This is where the fight's going to take place. If anything, we can pass like this, then we can actually go grab upper. This is like a power position on Zarya, the staircase here. If you can negate them from playing that staircase yourself, this is like how you hard off angle here and create a lot of space yourself. And then you can also potentially find a kill. And if you can't find the kill, if you're playing here initially, you just simply drop back like this, 100%. Then you're on the corner with your Reinhardt.
Yeah, that's a good play.
So how we can be like a little bit more proactive instead of like mindlessly kind of peeking with no bubble up while we're weak. So if we want to talk about how you could also swap to kind of counter this comp a little bit better, D.Va's very good against a comp like this. Roadhog's very good as well. You can even play ball if you would like. D.Va's good because it's just very easy to kind of peel and be everywhere. Like for when ball comes in, chasing them out. You can matrix people that get hooked. It's easy for you to maybe see the Mercy's kind of out of position, or you can go fly out the Widow, pressure her out. A lot of different like utility of the character, but Zarya's also fine. So yeah, try to bubble Reaper ult or anyone there. And then the thing in general that you should do going into every fight on Zarya is check what ults you have. And then while you're checking what ults you have, you might think about what ults they have a little bit more often. So then if you go into that fight being like, oh, we have Blade or we have Reaper ult, you can be more aware of, oh, they might be in position for that ult right now. I should be ready to bubble them. So going into this fight, we're already kind of down a couple people, right? You're preemptively popping your Moira like she might get hooked. And if she were to get hooked, when you want to bubble her after she gets hooked and let it connect so you can find more energy. And then only time that you have to really think about not like bubbling before they get hooked is if you think even if they get hooked and you bubble them, they might die. And it's like with a Moira, if she were to get hooked, what's she gonna do? She's gonna now fade back to you guys and she'll be okay anyway. It's gonna force fade. So then you have to be like, okay, will she be diveable if she doesn't have fade? It's like weird things that like we're getting very deep into it if we talk about this type of stuff. So okay, if she were to not have fade, can she die behind a shield? Do they have things that can hard pressure her? Oh, it's only one flanker and she'll probably have her orb for herself. Like she'll probably be okay. I'd rather get that 40 energy or be more passive with my bubble. So sort of a waste early because they haven't hooked yet. And then, you know, you try to hard frontline in front of your Reinhardt in a fight that you're kind of already somewhat down. You know, since people kind of died on that stagger. And you're trying to like be too aggressive when you should be too more passive and wait for them to engage onto you. Because then you're kind of overcommitting.
I think me doubling too hard is gonna be returning.
Yeah. I feel like you just need to learn how to chill out behind your Reinhardt, and then like once you have bubble, be like, okay, now I can extend a little bit more past my Reinhardt and try to secure this kill. And it's just kind of getting that mindset a little bit more. The biggest thing I'm worried about watching this fight is target priority. Like you initially are like Hog, then you go Lucio, then you go Hog, then you swap off Hog, you go Ball, now you go Soldier that's pocketed. Like if you're on Hog at the start and you're forcing cooldowns on Hog, stay on Hog. Like simple as that. Pick a target, and once you know you're starting to get them weak / forcing cooldowns, you need to keep committing to it. You only swap to guarantees like, oh, that soldier I can instantly kill really quick. I'll kill that soldier, then swap back to the Hog really quick. You're kind of chasing after other full HP targets that are like, for example, getting a lot of resources like pocketed that are going to take a lot longer to kill. It's just like a bad habit. Like then once this pocket dies there, you look away. Genji kills him anyway with Blade. Hey, we're on Hog, right? This is great. That's unfortunate that that SB's going down.
The payload has reached the
But you know, the Reaper ult popped off into your grab. Very cool.
60 seconds remaining. This
Yeah, the jump key is a thing that we definitely need to work on still. Watching this VOD. I know you told me it's gonna be like that in every game though, so. Hey, bubbling as you hear pile drive come in, I like it.
I mean, it will at least be for a while. I'll try and...
I know, it's gonna be something that's hard to break, but something that we should, you know, try to work on. Yeah, so watching that fight, I'm not sure if you saw the look on my face. I was like very confused because like we're W keying, we hear minefield. Then when you hear minefield, you rotate back more into the fight instead of just doing the safer rotation like out of the fight chasing that Sombra. So then you're rotating out into the minefields, and I was just like, wait, what? Are we rotating back into the fight? Because when you hear ult, you're supposed to play more passive. Then you should at least, like, if you wanted to rotate main, look forward and see what's there, like if the mines are there. There's no like check for that, for example. So I'm assuming we cap here and we go into the overtime rounds. So, you know, bubbling yourself when you're behind Ryan is kind of a thing a couple times here now. And what do you use the projector for in that situation? You get projected, you try to bubble the power drive, but you do it a little bit late.
Gravity kill. Double. I am on fire. I will lead us to victory.
Clearing the area.
You're covered.
Nice. You have a lot of potential. I feel like it's just like understanding how to play slower and how to peel and like ult usage at times. That's like the biggest things that I think we can kind of go down, and then the jumping. I think that's like Zarya summed up in there. Out of curiosity, in these 3 VODs that we have here, are all them on Zarya, or is there any other characters mixed in?
I think on my last VOD I also played some Reinhardt and some Ball.
Okay.
But mostly Zarya probably.
Out of curiosity, do you have allied health bars on? Do you know what that is?
I honestly have
Options,
no idea.
controls, hero, allied health bars.
I don't think I do. I think I have it on for Ana, but that might be it.
It's on by default for all support heroes. I highly recommend this as off tank. It really helps you with bubbles and knowing that you need to bubble someone, and when your main tank's gonna probably die and you need to start backing up proactively.
Yeah,
something that kind of just like like here, Ryan's on corner, that bubble gets bursted. I mean, he gets shatter blocked. I mean, it's like once you realize he goes for shatter and you don't see people fall, it'd be a preemptive S keying. Like, or you see him hard extending, like you aren't trying to max range beam a lot of the time. You're always more extended than you need to beam whatever target you want to be on. So you need to be trying to
for sure
back into that max range a little bit more often. That's like where you end up getting more punished. So that just puts you closer to the next corner that you can break LS with whoever's kind of chasing you, and that helps you a lot.
Perseverance is the key.
Yeah.
I think you undervalue, like in these fights, you always try to extend for things and get like very, very little poke to build your ult possibly, and you should just hard focus on beaming that main tank a lot more early in the fight. And if you wanted to go for other people, it's like when we're rotating initially to chase, when we're coming back from spawn, could you have path yourself up this upper staircase, found value here, or you're right clicking from here, and then you can get more onto the squishies. It's like you try to commit to squishies a lot more than you need to, and you're in the position to focus main tank. So if you want to go for that squishies more, this is kind of how you go about it. And then off angling here as they push even to this area, for example, this corner. And then once they start getting that corner, then you're like, okay, starting to take corner, I have to play further back on the circus, further back. So the typical, if they're here, for example, like let's say they just round a corner, you're here. Does that make sense? Middle of the staircase. Yeah. If they're getting to this part, you already have to be back here. I'm trying to LOS them like this or like this, and right clicking like this. It's just kind of how the general pathing would go if we were to off angle here.
Let's break it.
It's on you right now. You need to get in less of this main tank mentality when you're on Zarya. Like you keep trying to be the one to start the engagements and the pushes without your Reinhardt in front of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Just something that we keep seeing. I feel like Zarya is very repetitive when it comes to like talking about mistakes, because it's usually like the same mistake most of the time.
Yeah.
I do like 20 hours of Zarya coaching a week. It's the most commonly like common role that people want help with. You know, we talked about that main tank mindset that you have, like hard push into this Reinhardt that has all these resources early in the fight. Then you're overextended, then you get punished. It's just the same thing as like, stay with your Reinhardt, just chill behind your Reinhardt. Just beam shield, be happy with that. Wait until you have the advantage from doing that to make a push. You try making that push very early in the fight a lot of the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Barrier is on you.
And if we want to get into like that choke, if we want to off angle, we're not off angling. Like if our Reinhardt's playing here, can we be more like this, right clicking, rotating? Then can we right click from up here down onto backline? And then when they're initially rotating, could we even be up here, right clicking and looking for value like that? That's more so what we do between fights.
Yeah, I think I might be remembering incorrectly, but I think that at least one of our healers started to like kind of soft throw here because he wasn't happy with something or other. I don't
Okay, well,
recall.
in general, when you're pathing out a spawn, let's path where the majority of our team is. Sorry, because we're an enabler and we find our energy where the majority of our team is early on. For our team's left side, we should be pathing out left. Then maybe if you knew you had blade or you knew you had high noon, you'd be on the side to either bubble both of those very easily as well. So I feel like we need to be checking tab and rotate more with our team a lot of the time to start fights. I mean, that's obviously the last fight. You get shattered, you build your grab right as you die, so it's kind of like, I don't know, I expect you to be like spamming Q and like maybe get it off. Don't really change anything anyway, so not a big deal. Let's just double checking your ult charge there. Make sure it was like towards the end, not earlier on. I think that bubble is meant for you, Ryan. It's just, you know, someone walking to you. Not a big deal. Okay, we have the kill on Reinhardt here. So that Zarya's extended past you and then you swap targets. Like, see what I mean by you kind of split yourself from targets a little bit more than we should be, probably. Finish on getting that kill. Don't be like, oh, my teammates are going to kill them. Always just try to kill that target faster so then everyone can push with you for that chase instead of just you being there alone. Gives you more backup for it. Less room for error overall.
That was a misclick.
Yeah. All good.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
I distinctly remember it because I was kind of upset about it. I would just scratch my nose and I put my hand back on the keyboard and hard.
So it's like they just copied, for example, and then you're trying to hard push past and get energy. I feel like you already get energy early in the fight. And then you try to be super aggressive and pass up your Reinhardt for your energy in the mid fight a lot of the time. And this is like when they're ulting, for example, you just play slower. You play just cart, like, oh, we're here. Our Reinhardt's on cart. We're beaming like this, or we're playing like this, beaming wide because our team. And then once Ryan dies, maybe then we rotate more onto cart. We're not currently touching.
Yeah.
It just feels like you always just keep trying to buy space off cooldown when you need to give space.
Enemy radar contact. Going cold. That's more like it.
You should already think early on, by the way. Like, we just use our bubble ourselves. We're here, our Reinhardt's here, we bubble him and we're backing the entire time once we use our bubble. Like, it seems like you're complacent once you're your shield. You want to get yourself to the next corner as soon as possible. Early in this first corner phase. Then, like, when they could be investing resources onto Ryan, Mercy's invested resources into you. And I'd say for playing like a Lucy or Mercy comp, overall, like, looking for bubbles here, you have to use the bubbles right away here and then rotate before they get on top of you, because they're going to have probably more healing than you guys, and you need to be a lot more passive than them. And just play that long game. That's your goal.
Is approaching its destination.
Ready for battle. Maximum charge. This will heal. This will help. Barrier activated. Maximum charge. Girl, the Mahal. Огонь по готовности. Running them down.
Biggest thing I feel like is you just don't understand when people are behind you still. You know, it's this fight like, okay, we're brawling, we have an early pick.
Maximum charge. This will heal. This will help. Barrier activated.
You see how you're like hard trying to walk into that Reinhardt? What happens while you're doing that? That Zarya hard overextends past you and you don't try to pressure that Zarya out at all? And now she just walks on top of your entire backline where you could be bubbling them, putting pressure on them. It's just kind of like a awareness thing. Being like, cause like you're forcing yourself to be on top of the Reinhardt, like you have to swing at him all the time still. Watching this, so we need to work on that spacing.
True. Yeah.
And that'll help you with your awareness of where everyone is if you're further back. It's like if you ever play support, you are more aware of when people are like where they're rotating and stuff like that, because you have more of a view just from behind the fight instead of in the front of the fight.
Yeah.
So you get very tunneled on what's in front of you due to your core positioning.
Hanamura ready for battle.
I think you can skip pretty much the entire first round because I'll just be on Zarya and we got rolled very fast, I think.
Ready.
We swap the Reinhardt in the attack.
Ready for
Yeah.
battle.
Is it run for the rest of the squad for the next 15 minutes or so?
I don't think all of it, but
So once you swap out front, you're probably not coming back, is what you're saying?
I actually don't remember. I might have come back for our second attack because I think this went to a 4-4
Okay.
type situation, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm taking the
You have my thanks.
Walk it off.
Doesn't look bad at all. It was kind of funny because the easiest part would have probably been hitting that fire strike on the Reinhardt as you rotate in, and it was actually something that you kind of miss.
Defense point.
Yeah.
And I'd say aiming on Reinhardt is probably the easiest thing, but okay. So you would have died there if your hog didn't hook him. So in general, like you threw a fire strike while bubble was just popped, it's gonna hit before bubble. And then if you were like, oh, I can pin this Zarya, instead of throwing that initial fire strike, if you thought bubble would expire in time, yeah, can you pin that Zarya against this back corner wall? Then as soon as you hit that, you'd know their Reinhardt's probably holding up here. Then he sees here's pin, he might look right here and then punish you with pin. And he doesn't have bubble, you don't have bubble. So then you're punishable, but you also both have mercy res. I'd say it's safer for the mercy on your team to res here than it is for their mercy to res here. The only reason it might be safer for their mercy is that the fact that their Reinhardt is up and yours is dead. I'd say Rein for Zarya is a bad trade, especially on 2 CP, due to it being a way longer spawn for you than it is for them on second point. But honestly, you can take that risk. Honestly, if it's just if you didn't throw out fire strike, that pin would have been okay. Otherwise, you waited too long and missed your opportunity. So I see we're trying to swing into fire strike. It's a very as soon as you feel the hit marker thing, like very, very quickly, and you're flicking it a little bit too hard, it seems. So then let's talk about going into this fight. We're nanoed and you immediately go for a pin. When you think about not going for pins, just standing still like this, a lot of time when you want to go for a pin on the enemy Reinhardt, like you're here. If you were to just go straight, he can easily strafe in a direction and probably maybe not get hit by it, right? So we want to make it less of a chance that he can strafe. So let's say he's staying here and then he hears pin. He's either going to strafe left or right. So what I actually do is I would jump to the left so that I'm covering more to the left, and then I'm actually pinning towards the right so that I'm covering both angles that he can rotate into when I'm already on top of him. Does that make sense? And we do left to right because it's a shorter pin. here than it would be if we did right to left. So then it's a safer pin and less punishable by the enemy team. So I know it's a little funky in replay, but for example, when we're caught in this grab, you're holding your shield very forward and straight. You can actually angle your shield more by turning to the right and actually shield off the person that's the furthest forward in the grab, for example, in this situation, and make it harder for them to get killed. So just something to kind of think about whenever you're in grab. It's always whatever side the person that you're trying to shield is on, you need to be looking the opposite direction so the shield sticks out more in that direction. So I want you to think about your comp a little bit more. So you've been playing on this right side corner like you are playing a very brawly comp. If we look at our comp really quick, we're playing Torbjorn, we're playing Roadhog, we're playing Hanzo. We're playing a very, very spammy comp. You're making it easier for them to brawl and collapse onto you if you play this right side corner. A lot of people with a comp like this would be playing this left side corner like this. It's harder for them to collapse and hard push you because then you can just rotate with your shield out like this or out like this and then rotate back to point like this if need be, depending on the situation. So it's just a lot safer than being here than having to rotate out like this or upper blah, blah, blah. It's way more chaseable than rotating towards your spawn, right?
Yep.
So try and play into that comp strong C, which is more of a spam instead of a brawl. Something to kind of keep in mind. But I know you like to be very aggressive on top of people like we talked about. So I think that's why. And you know, we go for a pin when we're already weak. Don't really want to go for long pins most of the time, especially, you know, if we're missing armor, so under 300 HP, definitely probably not the greatest play.
No, for sure not. I think in my mind I wanted to go for the door frame, but I kind of messed up.
Well, in general, even for a short pin like that, you'd probably die when you're that weak.
In the end, yeah, I think looking back, I shouldn't have done any pin, but...
Yeah, it's like you just got pressured by Reaper. You hear that noise like you're extremely weak, though, from Reinhardt. So it's like, okay, time to like use our shield, try to back. Currently, if you're in this position, we either back towards our team shield hopping like this, or we back up the staircase and path towards the mega up here. And then maybe if they chase us into here, then we look for a pin in here. And then if we miss, okay, shield hop out, rotates the team.
Unstoppable.
Okay. So we just got back. Our teammates are kind of just dying. Everyone's dead. Probably not worth going for a shower at this point, right?
Yeah, no, in hindsight, definitely not.
Need to be a little bit more aware of that kill feed. Even when we're coming back, it was like a 4v6, I believe, with us getting back. As soon as we saw that Ana die, that fight was lost. It didn't matter if our hog was alive or anything like that. If you're trying to take that fight with no healing period, as a Reinhardt, you're probably not going to carry it. Especially with a solo shatter. Because then everyone else can follow up with their abilities and damage on scene, you're going to do a whole lot of nothing. It's a big thing that I feel like we kind of just like messed up on when it came to giving them a free tick here and everything. When you're top left, you didn't see their tanks ever. So then, and like in general, when we're holding here, we're more so holding here, and then oh, we don't see tanks here, then we're like looking main. We're double checking to see if they're rotating. Then oh, we see the tanks main. We should meet them point. So then we're playing off of this, right? This kind of makes sense. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Heroes never die.
I'll say a thing that you also seem to do whenever you get weak is you're weak and you kind of just sit there and hold shield. You rotate out a lot quicker if you shield hop, and it's very minimal like if you have any amount of HP that you're probably not going to get one tapped, initially it's better to pass yourself more out to safety.
I will shape order from chaos. In the
So we're going for a TP to point. So we have to keep in mind when we're going for a TP to point, we're playing very, very passive. Like we first get to the corner, we see that team's here, then we jump around corner, hold shield, wait for TP, are about to hit that TP right away. You're already going for damage, not only hard like kind of shielding for the TP, and this makes you take a lot more damage before it goes off, and then it seems like you just weren't aware of it. So now your team's split, and now they're going to collapse on whoever's on point from that TP and get free kills, and the fight's already over. Which is exactly what happened. So it's just like a bad engagement with how we try to approach that choke, to try to shield the TP, and then we end up not getting through the TP ourselves as the main tank and a lot of other people due to that early on aggression that we were going for.
Triple kill.
So we swapped to Symbol to get back, so let's see what that looks like here. So if you're ever like, oh, I need to get back quick, you already should have picked that faster hero by the time it spawns you in. You have 10 seconds to pick it. You should already have that kind of going through your head. So for example, if you were to let go, I was about to say, if you were to let go there, you're going to knock them off the map, and then you do it. So I'm happy. We're fine. We're vibing now.
10 seconds remaining.
Out of curiosity, we're just worried about same point there, or it's like, do you know what time you have to trigger overtime at? Do you know like what second, like until overtime, like we're to have to trigger?
No,
like
I don't. I know it's not. Like,
chat, help me out with this. It's 5 seconds, correct? Is that the 5 second mark if you touch in the last 5 seconds, or is it 3? I know it's 3 or 5. It's 3 seconds. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to double check. I was like, it's 3 or 5. Okay, so the last 3 seconds. If you think you can stay till 3 and then go for a grapple, like, did you need a grapple yet? You're full HP, right? So could you have waited until 3 seconds, been touching it, then use your grapple, kill Widow, and then you can get back in time to touch the point again? 100%. So it's just, you went for a very early on grapple to just try to stall when you have all this HP and everything, instead of looking for kills right now and thinking that way, because that's the only way that you're going to cap this point. Stalling doesn't really necessarily work too hot here.
Ready for battle.
I think that's it for the non-Zarya gameplay.
All right. Well, thought we could cover it a little bit. So it's a lot of playing more into our strong suits, and that revolves around us chilling out a little bit more. That's kind of like your overall thing, if you haven't noticed, is like playing a little bit slower, thinking about what our comp is. Are we hard brawler? Are we more of a spam? Playing into that spam. You know, obviously not being super scared on that corner. I don't see you like hard shielding when you get to corners, like how a lot of low Reinhardts do. You're very aggressive early on the corner, and that's very good. In that game, it didn't really come down to a lot of like shield break and like recharging your shield and stuff of that nature that we'd really want to get into coaching. So we're gonna have to do some more Ryan coaching at some point. So if we were to do VOD reviews again, get some Ryan gameplay. If you play any other tanks, get some gameplay of those tanks.
Yep.
You know, for now, I think we're pretty much set on what we have to work on Zarya, and we don't really need to touch that too much for right now. But, you know, once we get some game time in, I'd say give it like 10 hours of game time at least and see how it settles. Sound good?
Yeah, for sure.
All right.